This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Supporters of the Shiite leader Muqtada al-Sadr took to the streets of the Iraqi capital, protesting what they have described as the ongoing siege of the U.S. forces against Sadr city. They chanted and held banners calling on the U.S. forces to remove all security checkpoints and lift the blockade that has been imposed on the city for the 6th consecutive day. The U.S. forces have carried out home raids in Sadr city looking for their abducted soldier who has been missing for several days. Meanwhile, Salih al-Mutlaq, the head of the Iraqi Front for the National Dialogue, said that al-Qaeda in Iraq has been increasingly gaining momentum at the expense of other armed groups. Al-Mutlaq also warned against the establishment of a separate region in southern or central Iraq because it may lead to the development of an Islamic Sunni region that will clash with the predominantly Shiite region in the south.
The fact of the matter is that Al-Qaeda is growing in Iraq. Al-Qaeda used to make up only 2 to 5% of the total resistance in Iraq. However, the number has increased significantly because it enjoys more support than the rest of the national resistance. Consequently, many fighters prefer to join Al-Qaeda over other armed groups because it has the resources which enable it to fight the occupation forces more effectively.
In Iraq, tens of civilians were killed and wounded in 2 separate explosions. The first one took place in Sadr city, the second was in the capital, Baghdad. Scenes of bloodshed have become a part of Iraqis' daily lives that they wake up to and sleep to every day. The latest security breach includes a massive explosion that went off in the center of the Shiite Sadr city east of Baghdad, targeting a group of construction workers. The explosive device, which was placed in a bag amidst a group of workers, killed 29 Iraqis and injured nearly 60 others who were transferred to nearby hospitals.
This is an American crime.
Which groups are doing these things?
They committed the crime and claimed their innocence. Then a short time later, they show up at the scene in their cars. They are dogs, sons of dogs.
The Muslim Scholars Association, the largest Sunni organization in Iraq, announced that one of its prominent leaders, Dr. Aysam al-Rawi, was killed by unknown armed assailants who shot him in the Mansour neighborhood in western Baghdad while he was driving his car with 2 university professors. The professors were also wounded. Day after day, America's confusion about the quagmire, gaps, and mistakes committed in Iraq by the Bush administration during its invasion and occupation of Iraq is being exposed. A United States government report reveals that the coalition forces have lost track of an estimated 250,000 weapon pieces that were purchased for Iraqis as of last August. In addition, nearly $133 million designated for reconstruction in Iraq has been used to buy an estimated 370,000 pieces of small arms. The report indicates that the coalition forces have not complied with the requirement to register the serial numbers for all small arms, a key concern given the importance of controlling these sensitive items, particularly given the security environment in Iraq. The report states that one of the U.S. Army's mistakes is that it does not yet have a plan to transfer power to the Iraqi Defense Ministry by January 1st, 2008. Also, the U.S. Army does not have the capability to train Iraqi army logistics and supply units and had not developed a plan to address this shortfall.
ونبقى في العراق حيث أعلن هشيار زباري وزير الخارجية العراقي.
Staying with the topic of Iraq, the Iraqi Foreign Minister Hushair Zebari announced today that Iraq intends to request that the UN Security Council extend the mandate governing the presence of US-led forces in Iraq for another year. Zebari said the presence of the multinational forces, whose UN mandate expires on December 31st, is indispensable for the security and stability of Iraq, and that the government wants to expedite the training of national security forces. Despite tensions last week about when the Iraqi government could take control of its own forces, Zebari told Reuters that there are no differences with the United States about the end goals in Iraq.
سيطرة الحكومة العراقية على قواتها.
The Pakistani judge Hussein Ahmed, who's also presiding over the Islamic Alliance Party, said that 80 children, most of whom were between 12 and 15 years old, were killed when an Islamic school was shelled in northwest Pakistan. Hussein confirmed that the shelling was carried out by American planes and said that this was an equivalent to declaring war on Pakistan and called for countrywide protest. Pashtuni tribal men held the funeral procession for the victims of the aerial shelling of a Pakistani religious school along the Afghan borders. The Pakistani judge Hussein Ahmed, who is also presiding over the Islamic Alliance Party, said that 80 children were killed when an Islamic school in northwest Pakistan was shelled. Hussein confirmed that the shelling was carried out by American planes and said that this was equivalent to declaring war on Pakistan and called for countrywide protest. However, Major General Shaukat Sultan, a Pakistani army spokesman, said that 80 extremists were killed in the attack that was carried out by the Pakistani army helicopters this morning.
Their activities? We were observing them and monitoring their activities. We noticed that they were carrying out military training. The Pakistani government does not allow terrorist activities to take place on Pakistani soil, which includes helping terrorists in their training. Pakistan will not allow for that to happen. We hit their complex. Let me tell you that there were no women and children present inside the compound of that madrasa. The madrasa was being used by the miscreants for the military training activity.
On many occasions, the Afghan government and the United States have accused the religious schools of harboring terrorism. The Pakistani government was forced to scrutinize these schools and demand that they be closed down as a way to curb the influence of religious leaders in the self-autonomous tribal areas.
President Moshe Katsav today submitted his long-awaited response to the High Court of Justice on whether or not he will suspend himself from his post. The High Court is considering a petition filed by attorney Yossi Fuchs, who argued that the gravity of the allegations against the president makes it impossible for Katsav to continue to serve. Attorney General Menachem Mezuz has already suggested that the president consider suspending himself. However, a defiant Katsav today informed the court that he is staying put. The legal counsel for the president submitted a written response from Katsav saying that according to the law, the court has no authority to rule on any aspect of the presidency. The president said he is totally convinced of his innocence, adding that he could consider heeding the attorney general's advice only once the investigation is complete. IBA's Leah Stern filed this report.
The defiant President Moshe Katsav dismissed a call from Attorney General Menachem Mezuz to step down until and unless he is indicted. With an indictment on rape and other serious charges still being considered by Mezuz, Zion Amir, chief defense attorney for the president, told the Haaretz newspaper that Katsav does not intend to resign before Mezuz reaches a final decision. In a statement released last night, the president said, quote, "It is the duty of the authorities to do everything to uncover the truth, without allowing a media lynch to undermine the investigation of the truth." In his legal opinion released yesterday, Mezuz recommended that Katsav consider stepping aside until the allegations are resolved. He explained that it would be incorrect and inappropriate for the president to continue serving as an indictment takes shape. The law governing the presidency does not give either Mazuz or the Supreme Court the authority to rule on any aspect of Katsav's activities, and the Attorney General's recommendation cannot force Katsav from office. But the president is obliged to make an official response to the High Court petition filed by Attorney Yosef Fuchs several weeks ago, calling on the High Court to order Katsav to step down until a final decision on whether to charge him is made. The president is expected to respond that the High Court cannot hear petitions dealing directly with him because the law grants the president immunity from all such judicial proceedings. Meanwhile, despite the controversy, a spokesman for the president's residence has confirmed that the official ceremony marking the 11th anniversary of the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin will take place at the president's house as planned. This is Leah Stern for IBA News.
For his part, and back in Beirut, U.S. Department of State Director for Foreign Assistance Randall Tobias announced that the United States will begin reconstruction on the Mdeirej Bridge in the Southern Mdeirej region. Tobias, who visited the site yesterday, told Future TV that works on the bridge is tangible, proof that the United States pledges of assistance amount to more than just words. Funding for his contribution is part of the U.S. commitment of $230 million for humanitarian reconstruction and security assistance to Lebanon, announced by President Bush on August 21, 2006. During his two-day visit to Lebanon, Tobias visited the sites of U.S.-funded projects such as the oil spill in Byblos, the agricultural center of the north in Mejdlaya, micro-added beneficiary project in Zgharta, and the solid waste facility in Zahle. In an interview with Sarah Khouri, Tobias stressed that among the various projects which are helping Lebanon was one to help get rid the south of unexploded Israeli ornaments. Reports have said many of explosives were American-made.
Well, the United States and the people of the United States care a great deal about Lebanon and the people of Lebanon. And my purpose in being here is to ensure, in particular after the conflict this summer, that words have gotten translated into actions and money is actually getting put to work on projects that are making conditions better. And also, I've been interested in looking at the longer-term foreign assistance that the United States is providing for Lebanon.
So what kind of projects is America actually working on towards Lebanon and its reconstruction?
You know, the purpose of United States foreign assistance is really not about the United States, it's about Lebanon. And it's about trying to understand what the priorities are for the government of Lebanon and the people of Lebanon.
You also spoke of long-term projects and help for Lebanon. Did you discuss anything with Lebanese officials? You were at the Sarai today.
Yes, I had dinner last night with, I think, six members of the, 6 ministers of the government, and had a further conversation this morning to talk about a number of issues, including the reinforcing the fact that the United States government is very committed to helping the government of Lebanon as they move forward. I plan to attend the donor conference that will be coming up in January, and we had some discussion about their preparation for that. I led the U.S. delegation to the recent donor conference in Stockholm and had met with several of the government officials at that. So we had a very good discussion.
So speaking in the framework of aid to Lebanon, annually approximately how much does the United States grant or loan the Lebanese government?
Well, during the course of the summer, the United States made a commitment of $230 million to Lebanon, and many of the projects that I've mentioned are projects that that came from that money.
A lot of people in the south are worried about returning to their land or to their homes due to unexploded ornaments. Is the U.S. helping out with any projects?
Yes, we are, and I think their concern is very well founded. People, farmers, for example, are concerned about getting back into their fields, and indeed In some cases, people are trying to take the situation into their own hands, and people who are not trained to do so are trying to remove the unexploded ordnance. We've committed $5 million to that effort. We've already, teams that have been trained through the program that we're funding have already removed several thousand pieces of unexploded ordnance, and we're moving that ahead as aggressively as we can because it is a very important priority.
Palestinian farmers get up at dawn and head to their fields across the West Bank to pick their olives. Their daily job is fraught with difficulties, problems, and the fear of clashing with Jewish settlers and Israeli forces who often block farmers from reaching their fields. Khalid Al-Qasim visited the land of Suhail Abdul Latif on the day of harvest.
Suhail Abdul Latif, a teacher of Islamic studies, collected what's left of his strength and gathered his children and grandchildren to pick olives at their field, which has been ravaged by settler-constructed roads near the town of Qalqilia.
The land was once one plot, the same with the other land up there. But when they constructed the road, it got divided. There used to be 3 plots of land, and now there are 6. The roads divided them up. They confiscated no less than 3 to 4 dunums in order to construct the road.
Suhail's situation is no different from that of many other Palestinians who are suffering abuse at the hand of settlers and the Israeli army during the olive harvest season. An excuse is always at hand. The farmers are too close to the settlers' houses or the occupation forces' camps.
People were picking the olive trees, then the Jews came, took their IDs, and forced them out of the olive groves.
دور الجيش كان هو مش أزيد من حماية المستوطنين في البداية.
The Israeli army did little more than protect the settlers. The Israeli army and the police arrested 3 Palestinians, saying they threw stones at the settlers. Until now, they haven't been released. The settler who assaulted the Palestinians was with the army.
كان المستوطن اللي اعتدى على الفلسطينيين موجود.
This is our land, our land. Our future and destiny are linked to this land. If we have a land, then we have a future. If we don't have a land, then we have no future. So it's important that we remain attached to our lands, and God willing, we will persevere.
Most Palestinians depend on more than 10 million olive trees for their primary income. They produce approximately 35,000 tons of olive oil yearly. Palestinian lands that were not confiscated for constructing roads leading to settlements or for building a dividing wall were burned by the settlers. The relationship between people and olive trees is age-old. They have used olive trees for food and medicine, to light their houses and power their machinery, and even in magic and divination. However, Palestinians have a special relationship with olive trees, for olive branches represent peace and their roots represent Palestinian perseverance in the face of occupation and colonization. From Qalqilia province in northern West Bank, Khalid Al-Qasim, Al-Arabiya.
والاستيطان من محافظة قلقيلية شمال الضفة الغربية خالد القاسم العربية.
Iranian President Mohammad Ahmadinejad and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin got on the phone today to discuss cultivating Tehran-Moscow mutual ties, the latest global and regional developments, among them Iran's nuclear issue. President Ahmadinejad, who stressed the need for Tehran-Europe nuclear negotiations to continue, expressed regret over the failure of the talks due to a lack of authority on the part of Europeans. President Ahmadinejad also said certain countries' opposition to Iranian nation's progress, application of nuclear technology, for instance, has only led to further resistance by the nation. President Putin, in turn, highlighted Moscow's stance over Iran's nuclear case, that is, settling the issue through negotiations only. Iranian President Ahmadinejad is once again stressing Iran's entitlement to nuclear energy. The president, currently on a provincial tour of Tehran, told people in Pakhdasht on Monday that although the United States has overtaken Iran in oil production, it is applying nuclear energy too. So how come, as the president stressed, they tend to deprive us of using nuclear energy?
President Ahmadinejad underlined that the Iranian nation is entitled to access the full capacity of nuclear fuel cycle and that the Iranians will not let anyone deprive them of such a right. While speaking to the gathering of people of Baramin, the president turned to Iranians as a peaceful nation and said that the Iranian people will not give up their right to nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. Addressing Western governments, he said, quote, "Our nation is seeking its right, and according to laws and regulations, you were bound to help Iran to access nuclear technology for peaceful purposes." However, as he added, given that you did not take any measure to this end, Iran managed to achieve such a goal by relying on Iranian youth.
The Mariam Social Club on the island of Kish is yet another image of openness in Iran. The club allows youth from both sexes to meet within its walls while maintaining the values and traditions of Muslim society. This experiment indicates a dramatic change in the lifestyle of Iranian society, highlighting Iranians' strong desire to engage in the modern world.
The modern Mariam Social Club on the island of Kish in southern Iran attracts Iranian and foreign tourists. It is unique for its liberal policies that accommodate both male and female patrons.
After the revolution and during 8 years of war, the island remained isolated. But after the war, the island was reopened. The first market here was the Emirates market.
Our tour of all parts of the famous three-story club confirms that the entrance to modernity in Iran starts here with the women's fashion trends and various expensive luxury sport items.
I would like to come to this club every day with my friends, but the time I spend at work does not allow me to do this. I don't feel any kind of harassment because we follow the laws of wearing the Islamic hijab. We live normal lives.
وفي أسفل المبنى قاعات ضخمة للسونا والجاكوزي وأنواع مختلفة من الرياضة لم يسمح لنا بتصوير.
At the basement of the building, there are extravagant halls with saunas, jacuzzis, and all types of sport facilities that we were not permitted to capture on camera. Nonetheless, these public scenes exhibiting games and intermingling between young women and men show that Iranian lifestyles have dramatically changed and that Iranians are doing things that were religiously banned not so long ago. Yes, we are in Iran, in this free area of the Islamic Republic called Kish. One can also say that we are in the Hong Kong of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
An official study was released in the United Kingdom showing that Muslims in London face discrimination. Leaders of the Muslim community expressed hope that this study will lead the British government to become more responsible towards Muslims in Britain.
In an official report, London Mayor Ken Livingstone announced that Muslims in the British capital, who make up about 9% of its residents, are suffering a serious level of discrimination and prejudice. The Mayor of London believes that Muslims in particular are more vulnerable to religiously motivated hate crimes. The report indicates that 1 in 12 Londoners is a Muslim, and that most of London's youth are Muslims.
هو شخص مسلم وإن غالبية شباب لندن هم من المسلمين.
With facts and figures, the report reveals that London's Muslims have the lowest rate of employment, as only 15% of Muslim women over 25 are working full-time, and only 42% of Muslim men are working in economically active jobs. They also have the lowest qualification levels. The report, which was released by the Mayor's office in coordination with the Muslim Council of Britain, has been described as revolutionary. It may have shown conclusively, for the first time, the extent extent of the suffering of London's Muslims.
بالتقرير الثوري ربما وثق وللمرة الأولى حجم معاناة وحاجات مسلمي لندن.
The report shows that Muslims make up a significant section of Londoners. They suffer discrimination in employment, healthcare, housing, and compensation. We hope that the report will help remove the barriers that the Muslim community is suffering from as part of the effort to eliminate our society's problems. This is both in the interest of Muslims and the interest of London as a whole.
The
mayor of London said that the report came in the nick of time, saying that he hoped it will increase understanding between London's communities and combat crimes of ignorance and prejudice against Muslims, which he blames on some sections of the British media that stir Islamophobia.
This report is just to raise awareness.
This report is just to raise awareness that British society is threatened by racism, Islamophobia, and the media campaign against Muslims. It urges all segments of London society to join efforts to work on this and not blame the entire Muslim community or cast it in a negative light.
Statutory bodies, the councils, the GLA, the police, and others will work on this.
The London report came from the horse's mouth. It showed with facts and figures the extent of the suffering of London's Muslims. It may also strengthen their position toward a government that talks about its responsibility towards its citizens, but neglects the most important part of civil rights. Aziz Iftawi, Al-Alam, London.
Aziz Iftawi, Al-Alam, London.
نشرة الأخبار المفصلة من قناة العالم في طهران.
Russia refused the draft resolution by Western nations to impose economic sanctions on Iran because of its nuclear program. The United States, in addition, is demanding that Russia stops helping Iran in the construction of the Bushehr power plant.
يدعو روسيا إلى الكف عن تعاونها مع إيران في بناء محطة بوشهر.
The newly proposed draft resolution to impose sanctions on Iran did not win unanimous agreement, even among those who support it. The Americans and the Europeans failed to reach an agreement. The Europeans exempted Russia from the draft resolution by allowing Russian experts to continue working at the Bushehr plant because they know it constitutes a non-negotiable red line for Moscow. The Americans, however, want to include a clause demanding that Russia stop helping Iran construct the Bushehr plant. However, in an effort to win Russian support, U.S. Undersecretary of State Nicholas Burns said on a visit to Colombia that the Bushehr plant will not be a major stumbling block to find a UN resolution. Burns said he was comfortable with the idea of states providing Tehran with nuclear fuel and energy, so long as a fuel cycle with the capability to make weapons was excluded, he added. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that his country refused the draft resolution because it does not meet the objectives of the Permanent Security Council members and Germany. Lavrov believes the draft resolution required a long period of negotiation. These strong disagreements led the 6 countries to plan further talks in an attempt to reach a compromise. The draft resolution bans the provision, selling and transport of all materials, equipment and technology which may contribute to Iran's nuclear program. It also includes freezing of any foreign assets of those involved in this program and restricts travel for nuclear industry officials. These are the most important clauses for the proposed draft resolution, which was presented to the Security Council by the European Troika. The resolution involves Article 41 in Chapter 7 of the UN Charter concerned with non-military sanctions. No official reaction has come from Tehran so far regarding the imposition of sanctions on Iran. What's certain, however, is that Tehran will remain firm in its stand on its right to enrich uranium to benefit from nuclear technology for peaceful purposes. Is this new draft resolution just a test, or has the countdown for sanctions on Tehran already begun?
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.